once it's good on Facebook, I'll let you know.
Okay, we're live with the Racing for Recovery Sober Success Story Friday deal. Sobriety Rocks. That's right. Thanks, Todd. Haven't done it, what, in 2 weeks? How long have we been off?
We took a little break.
Yeah.
We had some different obligations, but we're back.
We're back. So I have with us today Mr. Randy Baduras, who I haven't had the pleasure yet of interviewing a family member, so this is going to be a new thing. So I want to start with this. First of all, I'm glad you're doing this. It's going to be awesome today.
Glad to do it.
How did we meet? I want to see if you tell the same story.
Well, when my daughter was struggling with her addiction, I think I got up early one morning, and they must have had some short TV show about you, and I was desperate to find a way to try to turn her around. And that morning, as I'm driving out of the neighborhood, I come to the stop where I turn onto the main road, and you go running by, and it's just like tugging at me. I turned left, you were going right, and then I was like, no, I got to stop. So I turned around in the church parking lot, went past you, cut you off, and said, hey, stop. You know, I need to talk to you. And I told you about my daughter, and thankfully you stopped, and that's how we met. It was awesome.
I want to elaborate on that story because every time I think of you, and I knew how I was going to start the show today, was by asking that question, because sometimes people, they get the mistake of what Racing for Recovery is about with respect to the running stuff that I've personally done. And had I not been physically active and running, we wouldn't have met, and I wouldn't have had the distinct pleasure of meeting Barbie or yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will never forget you turning in there, and you jumped out of your car, and my first reaction was, what did I do? You know, I did something wrong. And you just said, hey, you're that guy, I need some help for my daughter. And I remember saying, here's my number, I got a couple more miles to do, I'll call you, or call me when we get back.
Yeah.
And we connected, and that was it's an awesome moment. It's in our Cleveland book, you know.
Yeah.
I remember that like it was yesterday.
Me too.
So tell me about Barbie and what the circumstances were and how awesome of a person she was.
Barb was beautiful physically and beautiful inside. She, very sensitive girl, loved animals, and very intelligent, was in the gifted program in school. Sadly, she was born with a disease called cystic fibrosis, and we missed it. Doctors missed it. She went through her life being sick all the time, and nobody seemed to know why. She got an award. I noticed, I go through some of her stuff, and she got an award, I think, in second or third grade for the girl who used the most tissues to blow her nose. Cystic fibrosis affects the lungs, and the way she described it was, it's like having a bad cold for your whole life. Mm-hmm. So she always dealt with that, but it's getting better and better. But needless to say, in high school, she started to drink, and she started to do drugs, and I think a lot of it for her, she wanted to be accepted. Mm-hmm. She didn't want to have anybody say, I don't like you, so she thought that was how she would do it. She was diagnosed at age 20, finally, with CF, and she was told she would probably live to be 37. However, I don't think that would have been the case, but she struggled with it for 12 to 14 years, and she had to just do it one more time, and on October the 16th, 2015, she died of an overdose. Had a heart attack, actually, from it. An awesome lady.
Do you remember calling me that morning?
Yeah. Hardest day of my life. I remember calling you and saying, we lost her last night. And I know you were as hurt as I was, I think. I felt your empathy. But it's the worst thing a parent can go through. I can't, it's hard to describe it. It's just hard to describe. There's always a wound. you know, Chris at the Thursday night meeting last night said something that really hit me, and that is that he wore a T-shirt that said, "I am the voice of my friends I've lost," and I think I'm the voice for Barbie.
Absolutely.
And, that's why I keep coming here.
Which I know I'm not speaking just for myself on this. I and many people at Racing for Recovery, we have the utmost respect for you and the other parents who have unfortunately are in your circumstances. To be able to come in here and somehow consistently deliver a positive message, I have no idea what that's like. It'd be very hard to see the success in people and do the what if or why not, or have anger in there or whatever that is. That's would be totally understandable, but you guys come with grace, dignity, here to support anybody else who's here, and I know that message, it's resonating with people. It does to me still to this day.
And I can say I you know, I have dark days. I have days I get up in the morning and I think of Barb all the time. I'll drive by the damn cemetery and, you know, I know her shell is there. I know she's not. But when I come here and I hear that people are doing good, it's joyful to me. It's not painful at all. I feel good about it. Sometimes I wish Barbie could have found that. But she couldn't. And there was a lot going on, and everybody's case is different. That's why I come here. It helps me heal too. I think I said, I don't know, a week or two ago that when I came here after Barbie died, I was broken, and I was broken. I stayed home for 2 months. I have suicidal thoughts. You know, it's like I don't want to go on because her and I were close. We were like this.
Yep.
I've had health problems, and we always used to say, "Hey, we're going to take care of each other." But coming here was cathartic. It helped me heal. It helps to talk about it. And I've said this in meetings too. As parents, when our kids are struggling, lots of times we're as broken as they are trying to say this. So we need to come here as much as they do to get on this journey, because not out of, you know, unwittingly, we contribute to the addiction sometimes by enabling. And it's really critical to help an addict stop. You have to stop supporting the addiction. You have to support them being sober, giving them money for an electric bill. When they say, "Hey, I don't have any money to eat," don't give them money to eat. Take them to buy them a sandwich. You know, that's the kind of stuff that was hard to do, because unless there's consequences from the addiction, the brain doesn't want to change.
You know, Randy,
So-
I have a ton of questions today. I have no idea how long this is going to go, but one of the questions I wanted to ask you, and you kind of started answering it right there, is, and I don't mean this to be insensitive. What do you think? What do you know now that maybe you didn't know when she was around that you would have done differently? Because there's a message in that for somebody else.
I think what I know now is that being really tough is as much love as being really sweet. And I think that was an understanding of turning that love, because what an addict will do, it's like a grown 3-year-old. They throw a tantrum and they say, "You don't love me, I hate you." Well, you cut them off. And so as a parent, you can start to almost absorb that and feel like, I'm being hateful, I'm not being fair, I'm not being loving, but it's just the opposite. So it's important as a parent that when you start to understand that, you get it in your head that even as hard as it is to have that confrontation, that's love. That's the love that needs to occur. And I see that if you ask addicts, most of them say, when I got clean when I went to jail. I got clean when my mom and dad threw me out. It's hard to do that. So to go back to your question, what's different now is I understand that a lot of what I was doing, what I thought to save her, I was perpetuating the addiction.
I've never asked anybody this before, and I'm kind of getting out of order how I wanted this to go, but that's how we do things here. Is there something you wished I would have done? Or that you think I could have done?
Clone yourself? You know, I go back and when this happens, and I don't feel like I was responsible for my daughter's death,
Yeah.
but you always go back, it's human nature, and go, what could I have done different? Maybe if I had done this, she'd still be here. Maybe if I had been tougher. You know, I remember there was a point in high school where she got so drunk that I was worried she was going to die, and I actually laid on the floor with her that night and tried to make sure she would keep breathing. And I remember, like, the next day I said, no more Sylvania High School. You're going to a girls' school. I'm pulling you out. And everybody was against me. And I wish that I had done that. I wish I had separated her from whatever was going on there. I knew there was a problem, but I remember the argument to me was, well, Dad, I have to face this. I can't run away from my problems. And that's what I was telling her all of her life, was you don't run away from problems, you run at your problems. But in a sense, I would have been running at the problem. So, but there's nothing you could have done. She made her choices. I will say this. Oftentimes, people will get this kind of callous. They're addicts. They made their choice. They got to live with it. You know what? The first time they make their choice.
Right.
Those people that say that don't know is that what brings them to that point is a lot of events,
That's
a
right.
lot of environmental issues.
That's right.
And some people, when they're so broken that they can't do anything but that, they need help.
That's right.
It's not that they're weak, it's that they're broken.
I asked that question for a specific reason, because now I'm going to ask another one, and I want to see how you answer this, and if you don't mind, I'd like to give my opinion on that. Do you think if we had this facility, she'd be alive?
I do.
Me too.
I do. I think, you know, I've told you my dream, if my ship ever comes in, I want to buy 30 acres with a lake in it and have it called Camp Recovery and just put people there, and because they need separation from the addiction, all those things that come at them daily. I always felt if she could have had a year or two to rewire her brain, and she loved animals, I could see service animals there, but just a constant focus on sobriety, on living healthy and changing the way they think. It's like you always say, people don't know how to live sober, they know how to live like an addict, but they don't even understand what's a sober life like. So yeah, what you're doing here is spot on.
We've been so fortunate to have this facility, and it came through one family that was helped by our services that gave us an opportunity to come in here, and then by Sarah and John Bates, who gave us the opportunity to come into the building, and of course, as you know, Coach Jim Cooper, who helped solidify all this stuff, and I want to mention the Craigs that were helpful for us to get in here. And the reason, again, that I want to talk about this is, I remember when I had the pleasure of being in my old office, which I loved being in there. It was small, it was cozy, it was everything, but it was 1 hour a week or 2 weeks that I would get to spend with not only Barbie, with other people. And I'll never forget, it was the first time I talked to her, and she said to me, she goes, "Nobody's ever talked to me like this, like the way you're talking to me." And it was, and as I don't like calling myself a clinician, but whatever it is that I'm privileged to do, that to me is the catalyst. You have to be able to relate and know that there's a deep-rooted pain in there, and have that person go, wow, someone understands what I'm going through here. And my biggest, not regret, because we were doing everything we could to get a place like this, it just didn't work, but I wish you would have had the opportunity to fully be around here. And even having said that, even being in this place, we're still not done yet, because we can't deliver this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week yet. There's more work and support that needs to be done, that we can take people like Barbie and let them live this 24/7.
Yeah, there's no question. I think that it's, they immerse themselves in addiction, and you have to do the opposite, immerse yourself in sobriety, and that's what it takes to change.
I mean, every time I would see her, she'd leave skipping.
I'll tell you this, when she the first time she came to me, she says, "Daddy," same thing, finally somebody understands, I love that guy. You know, I love what he's doing. I have hope now, and it gave me hope. And I think to this day, if she wouldn't have taken those pills and could have gotten through that weekend, and she was supposed to meet with you on Monday, that it would have been enough. I mean, she was so frail. What the people listening don't know is that she had been through a month of horrible surgeries and infections related to her CF, probably complicated by her addiction and everything she had done, but she was weak and frail. I mean, but she had to get high one more time, and she couldn't take one Percocet. She took 16, and her little weak heart just gave out. So it's a tragedy, but hopefully her life can be something that makes somebody else change, and I'm the voice for her.
I know that voice is resonating.
Yeah.
I think, you know, and I don't, even though that Barbie's not here, I honor that.
She is here.
True. Her spirit's here. I'm honoring the stuff that was discussed in that room. And it's the same thing that this program focuses on. I'm hurting, and I'm hurting because of this or that or whatever circumstances, as you alluded to earlier, and I'm using drugs to cope. I think society just looks at this and you're bad because you're smoking crack or whatever it is. You're bad because you did this, and they're not looking at how did the person get to that point. It's not the drug itself.
Right.
It's the hurt behind that choice
Absolutely.
to use.
And you know, and I can say that after I lost her and I went into things that she wrote down, and I was like, oh my gosh, she lived a life of pain because of her cystic fibrosis. And I think I gave this talk I gave through Clay High School, that I learned that she was bullied horrible in high school. She used to go into the girls' bathroom at lunchtime and eat her lunch in the stall to keep from people abusing her. And if I would have known, I think I said that I'd probably be in prison because I would have gone and killed somebody. But that's the thing that is just underlying. There's a wound, and addicts are trying to escape from the wound or cover it up. But that's not the solution. But they don't know that. It's a temporary relief from the emotional pain.
What do you think, what message do you think Barbie wants you to deliver to everybody that comes in here?
I would say that, well, I'll say something that you would say, and I think you'd agree with, is that your life is worth living and you're worth saving. The other thing that I said at that talk was, and I prayed that night, Barbie, give me words, speak through me, was that the decisions you make today, and this is towards the younger high school age kids, maybe even college, but those decisions affect the rest of your life. You can just say once, I'm going to just try this, because everybody feels bulletproof when they're young. Do it once, and it's like, wow, that was cool. I want to do it again, and pretty soon you're hooked, and you're stuck. And she said, Dad, it's the devil. It's like being possessed. You try to get away from it, and you go through, muscle cramps, pain, contortion. Seeing her withdraw was agony. It's not like you can't imagine. It's like people stabbing you. So it hooks you and it doesn't want to let you go. So the message is don't do it in the first place. And if you do get stuck, come here. Look, get help. There's no shame in being an addict. It's not, you need help. And when you face it and you beat it, people look up to you.
It's awesome.
If there is any shame, it's when you don't face it and you run away from it and you stick with it and you kind of defy it. Humility is a beautiful thing. Humility is the pathway to change, and I think strength.
Absolutely. Todd, are there questions?
No question, just a lot of empathy, sympathy for what you've gone through and how much you inspire others by coming in here. As much as you do, we're honored and proud to have you around. That's the same sentiments we're getting from people on Facebook too right now.
I will say I don't need sympathy because I don't feel sorry for myself, but the love and the kindness that I see in this room is amazing to me, and that's what's amazing about this organization. I truly think this is my family. It's like I got about 100 kids in here that I'm looking at, and I'm rooting for, and I want to be a dad too in some sort of a way to say, come on, let's listen to me. But I know everybody's on their own journey. But all I can be is somebody who'll listen and give a ride to, or whatever anybody wants. That's what I do.
How have you improved as a person by coming here?
Oh, well, a lot. I think, I say this that, I'm not an addict, but everybody's broken in some way. There's nobody, when you look at somebody and you think, their life is perfect. No, it's not. But when I come in here through my struggles of my work, every time I walk out feeling better. It centers me, because the basic thing, the concept here too, is it's about self-examination. It's about also understanding what's really important in life. It's nothing to do with what we think it is. It's about the relationships we build, the way we help people. To me, the best thing anybody can do in their life is help other people. When you die and you're sitting at the grave, I don't think there's too many people that are going to say, wow, that guy really had a great car. Or, man, he spent a lot of time at the office. It's people say, what did you do for somebody?
Right.
I want to be remembered for what I did for other people, not how big my house or my car is.
Right. I had a message from Facebook this morning of a mom who said I think she watched the meeting last night, and she said, it looks awesome. Is there room for people who don't have drug or alcohol problems there? Is there a spot for me? And I was like, absolutely. Just from the motivational standpoint, how can you not come in this room on a Thursday night, drug problem or not, and not be motivated, let alone having the opportunity to meet amazing people, learn about addiction, increase your empathy, humility, and gratitude for what you have currently. So I said, yes, this is open and is welcome for everybody, not just substance abusers, right? It's the community.
Life it's interesting to me. Life is, what you do here is you learn how to solve problems. You basically get some tools. And life is the art of solving problems. I have a friend who's moving, and she's buying a house, and she's going through all kinds of issues, and she's learning to just put her nose down and grind, and it all works out, but you can't let go of the problem. Run at the problem, not away from it. So coming to these rooms, I would say to somebody, yes, it's about humanity, solving humanity problems. We're all humans. We all struggle. We all get depressed. We all get happy. We all get sad. We all have problems. We make mistakes. So what? It's learning how to work through those things in the best way possible, and that's what this does, not only for addicts who don't know how to be sober, but for sober people who sometimes don't know how to live correctly. So all we want in life is joy, isn't it? Contentment. We're all on this mission. A nicer, shinier car, a bigger house isn't going to do it.
I've never asked anybody this either. How can you describe how you're able to relate to other parents who are in your circumstances, and then how you also relate to parents who either A, have a child who's currently battling addiction, or a child that's recovered? The three different levels.
I think that for a parent that's lost somebody, I know what they feel.
Yeah.
It's devastating, it's empty, it's hopelessness. I once said, it's a problem I can't fix. And I'm the problem fixer, man. I've got my own business. I go out there, I find a problem, I solve it, I make it work. So I understand that feeling. The other thing too is if you lost somebody, nobody can walk through that journey with you. You got to go through it to some degree. It's comforting to know that somebody knows what you feel and they have them close. Sometimes just being in the physical presence of somebody that's lost their child, it's comforting because you know you're not alone. And when they want to talk about it, I can say, yeah, here's what I went through, here's what I felt. And just don't, what I always tell people lost a kid is, don't sit home. Downtime is bad because you just think. For parents that are struggling, I understand that struggle because I did it. I always tell people an addict is like an adult toddler. When you got a little baby, you're trying to keep them from putting their hand on the stove or putting something in their mouth. So you've got an addict, you're running around trying to stop them from what you feel is life-threatening things. And it's exhausting. It also is a form of addiction, I think. You get addicted to that, almost that high of saving them once and saving them again, but in essence, you don't. It's their journey. So I've had a few parents who I've walked up to them and I said, get tougher. Put your kid in jail. That's what you need to do to stop this. Get them out of the situation, but they need to feel the consequences. Don't rescue them from the consequences, because then why get sober? Mom and Dad keep paying the bills and fixing my car, and I can just go keep doing what I'm doing. So, yep, it's enabled me. It's made me a better person. I think I understand problems a lot better than I used to, how to deal with them a lot better. I stay calmer in them, and I've actually become tougher in my business, which I'm not a hard-nosed kind of guy.
No.
But I know how to say no softly, but my no means no. So, yeah, it's been good for me, and I go back to that cathartic feeling I'm helping somebody that's going through this, and that helps heal.
When you see a family whose loved ones have pulled it together and they're sober, what goes through your mind, and what does that do for you?
It's a feeling of joy. And I've walked up to some of those kids and I give them a hug and I just tell them, I'm proud of you, man. Barbie's smiling. That's what Barbie wanted to get to. I mean, you heard her. I remember she told me, I told Todd, I don't want to be a junkie at age 32. I want to beat this. And like you said, nobody wants to be an addict. So when somebody gets the other side of it, to me it's inspiring. I've said this before. Some of the wisest people I've ever met are in this room.
Right.
The wisdom that comes from being broken and healing is just, it's immeasurable. It's immeasurable. So yeah.
What have you learned from us as the former people who were self-destructing and now we're not? Have you learned from us as well, as much as we've learned from you?
Oh yeah. I mean, the one thing that I think is, I always tell people to grind. Doing nothing is not an option. You have to grind towards a goal, and that's true with anything in life. And watching people here who struggle with addiction become dedicated to the mission, or dedicated to a goal greater than oneself. To me, I've learned that much better being in this room.
Do you think that those who have come through here, whether you're a parent, maybe a person who's never even battled addiction like we talked about before, certainly those of us who have been fortunate enough to come in here and get it together, do you think we're obligated to do whatever we can to give that back to others?
I can't speak for anybody. I think you should. I don't know if it's an obligation, but I think giving is good for the soul. I think helping is good for the soul. It's better than anything, actually. Plus the wisdom that comes from somebody who's gone through the journey and come out the other end of it, it's valuable. People who are struggling need to know there's a way.
Yeah.
So.
I'm not that your answer is wrong. I use the obligated word. I can speak for myself. That's why this whole thing got created. I felt obligated. I had to take what was kindly offered to me and give it back. And the reason I feel so strongly about that is, I'll pose it into a question. How can you be given something and just take it and that's the end of it? So whether we want to call it obligated or not, I question, how can you have been, not you specifically, us, how can we be given so much and then just basically thanks and that's the end of it? Right? I don't know if that's good.
I mean, I'll go, well, you know what, I don't know that. I would say this is, I can't account for anybody else but my own actions in life, and I say that to everybody. Should somebody do it? Yes. You and I know that we see people come in here and then leave, and we never see them again. And you wonder, how are they doing?
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that to have a sober life and have a happy life, this is part of your life.
Yeah.
And you should be doing it forever. And people that don't, sometimes they wonder if they've wandered off the reservation again or out doing things. Maybe not, maybe. I would hope and I would implore, not demand, that if you have gone through this program and gotten clean and it's changed your life, find a way to give it back, yeah, for sure.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is I just go back to one of the questions I asked you earlier. I firmly believe this. If we had this, even where we are right now, which we're not done, if we had this, I know I would have interviewed Barbie at one point.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm using that message of, man, if you've been given something, whatever it is, either here or just in general, do your best to share that with someone else because they deserve to have an opportunity to do it too.
I definitely agree with that.
What do you see or hope for that Racing for Recovery does in the future?
So, I've had these thoughts. I would love to started to see Racing for Recovery seeds planted all over the country.
Yeah.
I've even thought of, if my ship comes in, I'll move to Columbus and start a group in Columbus, or set one up in Pittsburgh. The key is having a blueprint that you can and drop somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I would love to see happen here, is this way of life to spread to other cities.
Think of, even since you've been coming, which is 6, 7 years, I don't even,
Yeah, I don't even remember when. I mean,
quite a few.
yeah.
What do you think of the live stream format that we introduced? Because you've been around a long time. We conceptually talked about how do we get this message out on Thursday nights more. And now that we're doing that live stream and now doing these, what's your take on that?
I think it's great, and I'm not a techno guy. I'm not on any social media, and, I'm kind of more the hermit crowd, but I think it's awesome because it is about reaching people, and this younger generation is technologically oriented. Everybody's got an iPhone, everybody's got an iPad, and everybody's on Twitter and whatever there is. So when people are broken, and I know that, and they're struggling for, how do I change, at 3 in the morning, and they can go look at a podcast or a live stream and go, oh, this is what I need. It's the spark, maybe starts the fire that makes the change occur.
That's right.
And so I think it's a good thing.
You got any questions, Ashley?
Yeah. So I know that healing is a constant process, but is there a specific turning point in your healing process that you can think of?
I think, it depends on the healing, but I think when you get to the point where you accept what happened, I can't change it. I remember being at Barb's grave and going, I can't bring you back. I gotta move on with my life. And it's weird when you lose a child, you almost feel like you're betraying them when you laugh at something. It's like you can't have joy anymore because it's stolen. But I think even as an addict, whatever that hurt is, when you come to a point where you go, okay, I accept that this happened. I'm still okay. I'm still a good person. I'm still worth it. And I felt Barbie's voice telling me, Daddy, I love you. Don't stop living. I'm here with you. Wow. Keep going. Honor my life. Be my voice. And I think the same thing with an addiction. There's something that hurt you that's made you do this. Whatever it is, at some point you go, okay, that doesn't define me. Remember, we've said that. I am who I am. And so we got to go live our lives, but I want to live my life with joy and optimism, and that's what she would want. So same thing with an addict. Past is history. Future's a mystery. Today's a gift. I know. Everybody's heard that, but it's true. So you got to live every day grateful.
Profound. Questions on anybody on there?
Nope, just a lot of positive, awesome interview. Other people saying, love the live stream. They're able to watch it and be a part of it even when they aren't here at work. And thank you, Rain, for sharing your story. Hugs from Laura. Yeah. Awesome.
I love what Racing for Recovery has been fortunate to do and will do in the future. It's this. Somebody's benefiting from this now, and somebody will benefit from it in the future. Any final words?
There's hope. Stay positive if you're an addict. Come here. Don't do nothing because nothing's not an option. And if you're a parent, you need to really come here because I'm telling you right now that as a parent, this helped me so much in learning how to deal with this issue. And I believe that, and I hate, and I'm not saying it's my fault, but as a parent, when we have a child that's an addict, there's some contributing factors of who we are, and we need to be self-critical and self-examine, and that's the enabling part. Sometimes it just grows on us, but you'll be a happier person if you can come here and get some tools to deal with it.
As a friend and as a human being and a fellow member of this program, I thank you for having the courage to come in here and talk like that. And
It's an honor.
well, I've said this to, Barbie's in our second book. I use her often with individuals when it's applicable, and her, just like with Eric, Todd Spohr later, the message will never be lost, and whatever we ever can do for you, just ask.
Thank you.
For the folks who are out there watching, please share this, promote Racing for Recovery. You're potentially saving someone's life, and we'll see you next Friday. That's it.